Ever get that weird feeling after hanging up a random phone call? Like maybe something wasn't quite straight.
Oh, definitely. That sense that you've been maybe steered somewhere you didn't intend to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, today we're going to dive into a real example of that. A hidden danger, really, in some calls, focusing on how some call centers deceptively target older people.
And we're looking at a very specific and honestly quite concerning case involving insurance being sold to a 71-year-old woman.
Yeah, and what makes this deep dive so powerful, I think, is that we actually have the recording of the call itself.
Right. It's not just theory. You hear the manipulation happening, which is, well, much more impactful than just describing it.
Totally. This whole thing kicked off because of a video we saw that just laid bare how these operators work. So over the next bit, we'll listen to parts of that call.
Break down the agent's techniques.
Consider the human side, the impact on the person targeted.
And then kind of zoom out. Look at the bigger picture things like the government response to this sort of fraud. And importantly, who actually ends up footing the bill.
Yeah. Think of it as getting really granular on one situation to understand a much broader, frankly, quite troubling problem. Okay. Let's get into this recording.
Okay, so right off the bat, the thing that jumps out is just how fast the agent talks. It's relentless.
Yeah, from the moment she introduces herself, Letitia from Sudacrid Seguros, apparently it feels rushed. The host in the video we watched, Ricardo Dias, he even mentions he could barely catch the company name.
Which feels intentional, doesn't it? Like, maybe they want to breeze past that part so you don't have time to really register it or question it.
It seems like it.
Yeah.
And then you hear Dona Neusa, the woman on the line. She clearly says she's busy. I'm making lunch. I just got back.
Right. Those are pretty clear social signals. Normally, you'd expect someone to say, oh, okay, sorry, when's a better time?
But nope. The agent just sort of rolls past it, doesn't she?
Oh.
Immediately says the call will be very quick. She won't bother her.
Uh-huh. It's that classic move, downplay the intrusion, promise speed, imply there's some benefit coming your way.
And this is where it gets, well, technically interesting, I suppose. The way her speech changes pace.
Exactly. Ricardo Dias in the video really highlights this. When the agent's just dumping information, company name, policy stuff, it's incredibly fast. Almost a blur.
Like she's trying to overwhelm you with words.
Yeah, precisely. But then, for the things she needs a clear yes on, like confirming Dona Neusa's age, you're 71 years old, right?
Wow.
Suddenly, the pace slows right down.
It's so calculated, isn't it? Makes that specific bit stand out.
It really does. It's a stark contrast.
And those policy details.
Yeah.
They're kind of just thrown out there in that rapid fire section. Yeah. A monthly cost, $51.06.
Right. Coverage up to $5,000 for different scenarios, natural death, accidental death, disability. It's just a list.
There's no real explanation, is there? No pause for questions, no checking if Dona Neusa actually understands what any of that means.
Not at all. And then, almost immediately, she pivots to building rapport. Asking about her marriage, 51 years, wow, and her child.
Which on the surface seems friendly, right? Just making conversation.
But it's a tactic. It creates this false sense of connection, makes the agent seem trustworthy, lowers the listener's defenses. Oh, she's nice. She cares about my life.
All leading up to the crucial moment. The authorization.
And listen to how she phrases that. It's incredibly fast again. Authorize the monthly debit of our $51.06. Correct, Dona Neusa.
Right.
All run together.
It's almost like one single word. Ricardo Dias in the video, he really hammers this point, even slows the audio right down to show you just how quick it is.
It's almost designed so you barely hear the amount or the word debit before you're hit with correct.
Right. And Dona Neusa's response, just a simple correct.
Right.
Almost reflexive.
Yeah, it sounds automatic. Can you really call that informed consent? I mean, legally, consent requires understanding, full information, and a free choice.
Doesn't seem like any of those were truly met here. And then Dona Neusa actually starts to say something else. Because this business.
But she's cut right off. The agent got the yes she needed, however questionable, and that's it. Move on.
It's pretty shocking to hear. You can see why Ricardo Dias gets so worked up in the video. Even pleads with these agents, find work you can be proud of, ethical work.
Yeah, it really hits home when you hear it unfold like that. And the thing is, this call with Dona Neusa, as upsetting as it is, it's not some freak occurrence.
Right. The video connects this specific instance to a much bigger picture. It references a CNN Brazil report about a massive, our $6.3 billion fraud.
Yes, involving improper deductions from INSS retirees and pensioners. INSS being the Brazilian social security system. For context, this isn't just one bad apple. It points to something systemic.
Exactly. Ricardo Dias makes the point that Dona Neusa's case is just one way this kind of thing has been happening for years, even before other issues like alleged signature forgery came up.
So even these seemingly normal but highly manipulative phone calls have been contributing to significant fraud for a long time.
And how is the government responding to this bigger picture? The CNN report mentioned they're considering using public money.
That's right. Potentially using funds from the National Treasury may be covering half the losses initially to reimburse the victims of this wider INSS fraud.
But it sounds like there's some debate about that.
Yes, apparently a discussion between the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Social Security. You can imagine finance worrying about the precedent of using taxpayer money for this.
Well, Social Security is probably focused on getting money back to the pensioners quickly.
Exactly. It's a tough balance. Meanwhile, they have put a feature in the My INSS app so people can check their statements and flag deductions they don't recognize.
Which is good, gives people a tool, and helps the government maybe figure out just how big this problem really is.
But it leads to that really critical question, doesn't it? Who actually pays for all this fraud in the end?
Ricardo Dias really focuses on this. He's very critical of using public funds.
His argument basically is that it shifts the burden. Instead of the fraudsters paying, it's spread across all taxpayers.
So the people or companies pulling these stunts might not face the full financial consequences.
While the rest of us pick up the tab. Yeah.
The government's plan, as reported, seems to be reimburse 50% upfront with public money, then try to sue the companies involved to get it back.
But as Dias points out, actually recovering billions through lawsuits, that's often a long shot. It's pretty likely taxpayers will end up covering a big chunk of it.
Well, the perpetrators might have already pocketed the profits.
Which really brings us back to that call with Dona Neusa, and a question for you listening, echoing the video. Hearing that interaction, do you honestly think that counts as informed consent?
Does that rushed question, buried in fast talk, really let the company off the hook?
It makes you think, doesn't it, about how vulnerable people can be targeted with these kinds of tactics.
Yeah, the power imbalance is huge. And the lack of ethics is just glaring.
And if you connect that individual story back to the massive INSS fraud and the idea of public reimbursement, it leaves you with a pretty sobering final thought.
Who really bears the cost when fraud becomes this widespread? Is it just the direct victims? Or does the weight fall on all of us, maybe chipping away at trust in the very systems designed to protect people? Makes you think.